These three things are crucial for business. So if you're not patient, you can't let things happen over time. If you're not consistent, you're not showing up enough to get things done, and you're not keeping calls going, keeping the business going. And if you're not persistent, meaning when things are tough and you can't stand up after you get knocked down, your business is never going to make it anyway. So I'm a big believer going fast. I say you got to walk fast, talk fast, read fast, write fast, shop fast to get your goals fast. So I'm a big believer in doing things quickly, and you should have that feeling of urgency that you're behind. If you don't, you're not going quick enough. All you're trying to do is create attention. You're just trying to lead with values. So in this world, we're in a take world, an entitlement world, where everybody just wants you to do something for them first. That's not how you become wealthy. The way you become wealthy is you work people for free, or you give out value for free.
This is the What Are You Made Of show here on Fireside. It's your boy, Mike C-Rock. I'm unstoppable, and so are you. I have a great guest for you today, and I'm glad you're here. Thank you for all the folks that are down and live in the studio. And if you're watching the replay or listening to this, thank you so much. I appreciate everything that you do as far as being here and paying attention, the support that you give me, the C-Rock brand, and the What Are You Made Of movement. Much love, much love, much love. All right, today's guest, my man Connor's in the building. Connor is, man, he's got quite a resume. He's got quite a story. Wait till you hear about it. But he's got 2,650 agents in his team with EXP, Global Revenue Share Company. He's organization leader, as they say, but EXP. Top 30 EXP Realty influencer out of 87,000 agents, top social media coach and creator, founder of the Investor Army, top investing YouTube channel with 40,000 subscribers. Connor's also got a YouTube channel, the Connor Steinbrook YouTube channel for business, real estate investing specialist, professional poker player for 8 years, and self-proclaimed underground big bass champ. Man, bullshit. Is that bass or bass? Because I'm a bass champ.
Bass or bass? Largemouth bass?
Yeah, largemouth bass, right?
I'm the champ. We'll see. We'll see your photos.
No, dude. No. We're going to have to fish because I caught a fish one time, man. I couldn't even believe they had that size fish in Maryland. And it was in these lily pads. Let me tell you real quick before we get started. I threw a rubber worm in these lily pads, really shallow. Some of these people don't care about fishing, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. So I put a rubber worm, and this sucker pulled the boat into the lily pads. I couldn't get it out. It was so big. And I pulled it up, and of course, we didn't have a camera because that's what happens when you catch a big fish. You don't have the camera with you. And it was before we had cell phone cameras and stuff. So, I'm saying it was like a 15-pound. No, I don't know. It was probably like 9.5, 10 pounds, but still big bass. So,
yeah, I'll send you some photos later. Don't feel too bad, but I am in Texas, and we got big bass in Texas. So that's one thing.
That is true. That is true. So then what we got to do is we got to do like the pound for pound champ because Maryland probably has smaller bass. So
a little bit smaller.
Let's go. Well, look, man, welcome to the show. I got to tell you, when I was introduced to you by some mutual friends of ours, and then I heard your story and then I got to talk to you, I'm like, this dude is my kind of guy. Like, I want to hang with this dude. I want to learn from this dude, even though you're younger than me. I learn all the time. And I couldn't wait to have you on my show so that the audience could hear your story, brother.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm grateful to be on the show, and let's see what we can do. Let's pump some people up and let's motivate them and let's give them a good story.
Let's go. So first of all, we start with the show the same way every time, and that is with the question, Connor, what are you made of?
So I teach agents a lot in our group, patience, persistency, and consistency. These three things are crucial for business. So if you're not patient, you can't let things happen over time. If you're not consistent, you're not showing up enough to get things done, and you're not keeping calls going, keeping the business going. And if you're not persistent, meaning when things are tough and you can't stand up after you get knocked down, your business is never going to make it anyway. So you have to be persistent, patient, and consistent with what you're doing. Those three things are going to help you as a starting foundation to build your business. But those are things we teach a lot. So very important to have inside you as a business owner, as you will be tested with ups and downs, and you are going to have momentum issues a lot of times in business. A lot of people have broken momentum as the markets turn. And so that's why it's so important to stay consistent. When the mindset's broken, you got to stay consistent with your work ethic, and you can't take time off.
Yeah, I love that. I got a question for you though on the patience thing. Okay, we got patience and then we got urgency. And would you agree that there's got to be a combination of both, and it's a fine line between the patience and the urgency?
Yes, I'm a big believer going fast. I say you got to walk fast, talk fast, read fast, write fast, shop fast to get your goals fast. So I'm a big believer in doing things quickly, and you should have that feeling of urgency that you're behind. If you don't, you're not going quick enough. But when I talk about patience, I look at it more as like a term of aggressive patience, meaning you got to work hard every single day, meaning show up every single day, but be patient to let it happen over time. So it's not just being patient, meaning barely putting any urgency in the business, barely trying and just waiting for time horizons to move forward. You have to be aggressive, meaning working really hard every day, but being patient over a sustained long period of time, because a lot of big businesses take 5 to 10 years to build. And if you can't stay consistent and you can't push through those, I call it the valley of the death, that beginning phase of a business where you're paying the dues and nothing's happening, you're going backwards, no money's coming in. Before everything takes off, you're going to struggle. So you have to be able to push through that. And you have to have what's called aggressive patience.
And what's the logo behind you, brother?
That is the Wolfpack logo for our Wolfpack Revenue Short organization. So we created this logo for our EXP organization. And the organization we have is called the Wolfpack. And the mentality is that we're going to run together as a family unit and we're going to win and take over together, as compared to a single lone wolf, which is traditionally, when you think about it, how the real estate business and a lot of businesses are built, is an individual kind of game. And we wanted to create a collective kind of family type of unit mentality so that we build it together, run together, and we're global. So now we have agents in all 50 states, every Canadian province, and I think we're in 13, going into 14 nations right now. But that's the logo for our group, and that's kind of the symbology behind it.
Now, when you first got started in the business, now we're going to go back to your story in a second, but when you first got started, did you envision this big, this fast, this many team members, this fast?
No, not at all, actually. When I got into business, I was going into the investment side of the industry. So I started out on the real estate investment part. So there's two different sides of the real estate business. You got the investment side, and then you got the traditional side where we're representing buyers and sellers as real estate agents. So I never actually intended to build a team. It was kind of an accidental process of the journey through entrepreneurship that we all go down, where doors open up doors. And so as you guys go through your journey, just kind of build the skill sets, take the bumps, take the bruises, and just realize you're gaining value and skill sets that can open, or that can allow you to capitalize on the door that could open tomorrow. And so just because you're doing something right now doesn't mean it's going to be what you're doing later. And a lot of times when you meet high-level entrepreneurs, some of their first businesses led to their future business that was their big business that took them off the ground, that exploded them. So we can kind of talk about how I got there, but it was never really my intent to do this. I just capitalized on opportunity that came about with the skill sets I built from building other businesses that led up to this current moment. It's kind of what happened.
You just speaking into my life, brother. Like, I'm experiencing that stuff right now. Like, I've gone through some things. I have things I want to do, but then all of a sudden these opportunities come, and it's not shiny bells and whistle syndrome. The opportunities come and I'm like, holy cow, you can make so much money. And I know how to do all this stuff already. And I couldn't even imagine why I was learning this stuff here. And it just comes about. But that's a part of your intuition. You got to be able to listen and see opportunities in front of you, and not, and that's why that preparation, that work that you're putting in at all times is so important, because you can't see down the road all the time. The future isn't visible. It's you got to create a vision for you to be able to go in a direction, but you just never know what's going to come your way. So I love that you said that. And also you mentioned something about the lone wolf, and I had a clubhouse room this morning. We talked about, do you feel alone in your business? And we talked about, a lot of times in business we feel alone, and we would love to have a board of advisors, but not everybody has a board of advisors set up. So what I've been trying to do, and I think you do this as well, like, I want to be that board of advisors, that soundboard for people. And of course I'll do it for, some extent for free, but at some point there's got to be some give and take. And I'm going to be, I'll be willing to do it for a fee, and also equity in companies, and build a portfolio. Is that kind of how you approach it?
As far as, so like, maybe you kind of rephrase your question there. So I'm not quite sure.
like when you got your people that are around you, like people in your community, you got a community you build, right? And some of the people in your community, you're not generating revenue off of, right? And then in order to generate revenue off of them, you get free advice to an extent, but at some point there's got to be some kind of exchange of energy, right?
Correct. Yeah. Sorry about that. I had a phone call coming in. Couldn't hear you, but
no worries.
When you're building a following, all you're trying to do is create attention. You're just trying to lead with values. So in this world, we're in a take world, an entitlement world, where everybody just wants you to do something for them first. That's not how you become wealthy. The way you become wealthy is you work for people for free, or you give out value for free. And so when you're trying to get into the upper echelon, or get into a higher level of communication with higher level individuals in business, they already have money, but what they don't have is time, and they don't have a lot of positive emotions. So if you're trying to get into like a great mentor or someone locally, what you need to do is you need to go work for them for free, do something to help them out, where you're going to take stress off their plate or remove negative emotion, because they don't need the money. They need you to help them save time or expand their business. And then as far as like on a global scale, creating attention through social media. If you have enough attention, it doesn't matter what you're selling. It could be a product, service, or opportunity. You could be selling a sandwich. If you have enough attention, you can sell it, as long as you have a sandwiches can be eaten and someone want to buy it again and eat it again, so meaning a product that they want to actually use, you're going to be able to build a business around it. So all you're trying to do is to create attention. And the way we do this is we give out value first. We give out the best stuff that we have, not holding things close to the chest. And I think a lot of people, because they try to hold too much close to their chest, they're cutting themselves short of what they could have tomorrow as far as business opportunities. So all my businesses and business partners and people I work with now came years later after following my channels or giving value or doing things for them. And it doesn't have to be through social media, or it doesn't have to be through mentorship. It could just be, seeing someone on the side of the road that's tire blew out and pulling over and helping them. You have no idea who that person is. And if you do something just with the intent to do well, I believe that God and the world is going to get back to you. And so I think a lot of people are running their life in a way that they're doing the opposite. And that's why they're always struggling to have things work out. Nothing ever finishes out. They don't become successful. And it's because the mindset that they're in. You should be in a giving mindset. And when you give, you cannot not have things given back to you, or value, a mutual exchange in value given back to you for what you're giving to the world. And success is a direct relationship with value you give to the marketplace. And so when you see someone that's financially successful, what that means is they've given a lot of value and they helped a lot of people. In exchange for helping that many people is the dollars in their bank account. That's kind of how it works.
Yeah. And a lot of people aren't willing to wait the time it takes to give enough to get the money to flow. They give up too fast. Right. So yeah, go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, within like 6 months, usually within a month. But I try to tell people, most of you guys went to school for 4, 5, 6 years to get a degree to work for someone else to make their goals and dreams come true. But when it comes to running your own business, you're going to give up freshman year of college. Just kind of what I look at it as, because if you're stopping your business within 6 months, and did you really give it all? Did you put all your time, effort, heart, and energy and soul into it? But if you're going to quit within 6 months, that's like a freshman college dropout. But you're dropping out for your freedom, your career, your family, not someone else's. So it's a mindset issue. It's an illusion. And it's just a conditioning that we've all been kind of stuck in the way that this country and the world's kind of progressed over the past couple of decades. But so that's kind of a take on that. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into your story, man. Take us back where it all started. You and I had that call and you explained some of the stuff to me, but just take us through, man. Give us a rundown.
Okay. Yeah. So I have a kind of unique story. So basically what happened to me was I was born in Atlanta, Georgia. My father's a Presbyterian minister. So I kind of grew up in the church. And then my dad was recruited out of the pulpit. Hence maybe I learned how to recruit then. But he was brought to Texas to kind of run nonprofit for a very wealthy family and a couple other families that made big money in the oil industry. And they wanted to start a nonprofit where they were opening up interstate charter schools all around North America. And so that's when I moved to Dallas. And then I went to Planet West, which is where the Wolfpack came from. It's our logo, which we may talk about later. So basically what happened was I went off to college in 2003, and I made my parents really proud, as I do have conservative parents. And I put $20 in a poker site for fun, just like all my other friends. And what was going on was the online poker boom had just happened. A man named Chris Moneymaker had played a $40 satellite tournament, won into a bigger tournament, the big main event World Series of Poker tournament that we see every summer on TV. And he won it, and it created this big online poker boom. And I was part of that. So I put $20 in the poker site, started playing for pennies. It was technology infused into a brick and mortar business model, allowing for many more hands per hour to be played and multiple tables to be played at a time. So I started playing 16 to 24 tables at a time, started playing for pennies and dollars and tens of dollars, then thousands and tens of thousands. And I got up to some of the highest stakes that you could play on the internet. And I did this successfully for about 8 years. And then I had a very hard lesson happen. And I learned that good things do not last forever. And I woke up on April 15, 2011 to find out, if you go on the internet, looking at the historical record of what's called Black Friday. And this is when the United States Department of Justice, what they did was they shut down the big poker sites at the time, Full Tilt Poker and PokerStars. And what was going on was there were some issues, some money laundering issues and all sorts of tax issues and things that were going on because these sites were offshore or hosted like on offshore islands through the Alderney Gaming Commission or something. It was a really crazy time. But anyways, what happened was I woke up the next day to have no identity. I spent almost 10 years building this person, and I woke up to find out I wasn't that person anymore. And all the people that were my friends that were also that person that they thought they were no longer the person they thought they were. And our entire world disappeared overnight. And I was pretty young and too naive to not understand what I was going through. And I let my emotions get control of me. I went on what's called tilt, and I gambled off all my money, playing blackjack and craps at a casino called WinStar Casino. So if you go there, it's at the border of Texas and Oklahoma. It's actually the biggest.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Slow down for a minute, Cowboy. You're from Texas. I can call you Cowboy. I'm a Yankee up here in Maryland. So hold on a second. So when they shut that down, did you have money in the account and did you have access to it?
I was actually kind of lucky at the moment. I actually busted my account. In a way, I was lucky. So busting your account means you went to zero. And so like when we play at high stakes accounts, we don't always have money in the account because we never trusted these websites. So I was actually in a moment where I was getting ready to put money back on the account or back on the website. So I kind of got lucky. A lot of people did have a lot of money on the accounts or on the platforms. But what I did have was a lot of, they're called like full tilt points and poker star points that they added up to tens of thousands of dollars. The amount of points that I had is like, think of like credit card bonus points, but that was about the extent of what I lost. So I was actually kind of in a unique window where I didn't have a lot of money on there, but that's not the real loss. The loss was the future opportunity cost of the income that I would have created in the future, which would probably be millions of dollars. But I didn't realize at the time that this was actually going to be a good thing for me, even though it was the worst moment of my life as I went through it. But I didn't have a lot of money tied up on the sites, but my future income stream was taken from me is really what the big issue was. And this is why you need to have the understanding of multiple streams of income. And I think a lot of people hear that term multiple streams of income and think of it as a way to increase their income. And it's just factually not really what it does when you think about it. So let's say you had a billion income streams that make $1, and then you had just one single income stream that makes $1 billion on its own. What that means is there's no relationship between income and the amount of income streams that you have. So really multiple streams of income is an insurance policy. If you had like one really good one, let's say you had the $1 billion income stream and it goes away, where are you right now? Now, if you have multiple positive income streams, yes, it's going to increase your income. But really what you're trying to do is pretty much insure your business in case anything happens, life liabilities pick up, children, grandchildren, health issues, industry model changes. You may have a third party.
Interest rates.
Yeah, interest rates. You may have a sushi restaurant where fish prices go up and you can't turn a profit. All sorts of things can happen. But yeah, that's kind of how.
Well, then how could, like, if you did decide from that point, let's say that happened and you went to the poker tables live, were you good enough at poker to be able to make money on a consistent basis, just playing one table at a time?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So sorry, I don't know where this is going off. I'll go off in a second. Yeah, for sure. So like online poker was where the most successful poker players were. Live poker. Sorry, I got my computer doing something weird.
That's fine. We can't hear you.
So live poker is a much softer game. You're going to see a lot easier game to beat, but it's not a game conducive for high level, high performance individuals that I was doing, where I was playing 16, 20 tables at a time, playing lots of hand volume, where aggression is really kind of one of your skill sets to keep pressure on people over and over. Whereas in a poker game at a live casino, you may get 200 hands a day. So it's more about spot selecting, emotional intelligence, reading people, understanding body language, creating fake tells and things like that. So it's the same game, but it's a little bit different when you're playing online because you're looking at betting patterns, strategies, bet sizing as compared to in person. You're looking more at, the person, their mannerisms, their body language, and their betting patterns. So there just wasn't enough hand volume coming through these live casinos. So I was playing the highest stakes games at the casinos that I was, and I was crushing them, but I just couldn't get enough hand volume in to play enough hands to get a return on the life that to make the money I was before.
Yeah.
And it was really kind of like a self-defeating thing because like it was brutal to sit there every day, all day, knowing that you're going to play the best you can, make good money. And it's not the same amount of money that you were before. And it's kind of like digging a hole deeper. And I just knew that this was not what I was going to do. And I kind of over a year or two realized that I was not going to play poker professionally anymore. As online poker was never going to come back the way it was at once, where having that much money consolidated between a couple sites, because when it came back, it was like 50 different sites. All the money was fragmented across the different sites and different players. Whereas it was the consolidation of having that macro market pool across just a couple websites that pushed the money up, meaning more people that were worse could get up to higher levels, pushing the money up, making it easier for us to win at a higher level. If that makes sense a little bit, kind of how I explain that.
Yep. I got it. Okay. So then you lost the money. And then right when you lost the money, how did it feel? Take us through the darkness. And then when did the light show up?
Yeah, so I'm used to losing money and making it back at this moment. So that wasn't the problem. And that's difficult in its own. This time I lost the money and realized I didn't have the ability to get it back. And this is what was really tough. So I'd lost my identity. I lost my bank account. I went from driving sports cars, diamond watches, $1,000 nights at the bar, to tucking my tail and having moved back home with my parents. I actually moved back home, as embarrassing as that sounds. So if you guys are young watching this, or even if you're in your 30s and 40s, this is not where your story lasts or ends at, because this was where I thought mine was going to end, but it was kind of the beginning. And so I moved back home with my parents, and I couldn't even move into my own bedroom, Mike, because my bedroom was now storage. So I had to move into my sister's bedroom, and it had like one twin size bed, a bar stool size desk, and a lot of depression in that room is where I kind of reinvented myself and found myself. But I spent about 2 years waiting for the online poker world to come back, playing poor me, and just kind of sitting around there, dwelling in all my negativity and hating the world and blaming everything around me that I could, from God to government to the bird outside to the cat to the air. If I could blame it, I was blaming something else but myself. And then what happened was I actually got into a pretty dark moment where I almost took my own life. It got really bad at that moment because I was looking for in the future, and we live in three planes. We live in the past, the present, and the future. And a lot of times we live in the present and we're looking towards our future, but we're dwelling in the past, meaning a past victory or a past loss. We're saying, this poker world, this past decade of my life was all I had. Looking forward, I'll never be more successful in this. So the future was an outcome that I didn't want to have. I convinced myself that my best days were behind me and the worst days were coming and were not worth living. And it created a very difficult mindset trap for me to get out of. And it kind of got me to where I didn't want to live anymore, just to be honest. And I fought this on and off for 6 months as I was kind of fighting these thoughts. And what happened was I realized, because my faith system, I couldn't do that. And I was trapped kind of in a way, because it was a very tough time where I didn't know what I was going to do. And so I realized, if I have to stay here, better figure out how my brain works, my body works, my emotions work, and how I can tolerate this. And so I went to the internet and really started doing some research on how to not take my life. And that's when I came across some black and white recordings of a man named Napoleon Hill. So you guys know Napoleon Hill. And I came across the 17 Principles of Success, actually, one of his first recordings. And I started watching it. And what resonated with me was, it was generational knowledge, not just, hey, we're trying to quick sell you a social media course or quick pump something out right now. This was something that the traits and principles that he's talking about could be transcended across different generations and different time horizons, and would always be applicable. So this is where I really started digging down kind of the rabbit hole. That's when I went to read Think and Grow Rich. Not being cliche, I read that book and it made me start realizing I wasn't thinking, and I started thinking, and that's when I became rich. So I go read that book if you haven't. And then I went down a heavy path of self-development. I read hundreds of books. I read, starting out with some great ones like Richest Man in Babylon, As a Man Thinketh. And then I went down the traditional, kind of modern day gurus, the Jim Rohns, Bob Proctors, Les Browns, Earl Nightingales, John Maxwell's, and all of them up until now with the modern day ones, like Ed Milet and the PBDs and type of mentors. And so I found aggressive mentors on the internet, and I started learning from them. And that's when I had just enough courage to jump into business, and I decided I want to become a real estate investor. And I went to one of those big rip-off guru companies that kind of tricked me and scammed me. And I put up 35 grand to go through that company. And before I knew it, I was spending a bunch of money on marketing, and I was almost $100,000 in debt, and I completely run out of money. And this was a tough time for me because I had been working on building websites. I was watching YouTube videos, teaching myself how to build WordPress websites and do SEO. And I was watching my website start to move from the top of like page 7 to 5 to page 4 to 3. So I saw my websites moving up, and I had a choice at this time to either get a job, a 9 to 5, file bankruptcy, or get some type of part-time income. And what I did was, instead of, this is an important concept for you guys right now, if you're kind of in the spot in life, I didn't want to get a job because I knew if I got a job, I'd get stuck in a comfortable life and I would never continue chasing my goals as a business owner the way I would. And I knew if I filed bankruptcy and I didn't give it my all, I knew I could never respect myself and look myself in the eye going forward. And I would have to look at myself as a quitter. And so I decided I was going to fight it all the way through instead of filing bankruptcy. My dad didn't raise me that way. So I picked up a broom voluntarily, and I decided to get a job working at Academy Sports and Outdoors in Plano, Texas, right across from Tinseltown Movie Theater. So I actually worked there, believe it or not. And I was working for minimum wage. So I'd work 12, 16-hour days in my business. And then
how long ago was that?
This was back in like 2014-ish, almost a decade ago. Yeah. So
okay, yeah. 9 years. Yeah, 9 years ago.
2013, 2014-ish. Yeah.
Okay, so you were making great money, and then you went and got a minimum wage job, basically. And you were still living with your parents at the time?
That's right. And
Yeah.
my only goal was to keep my business going. I needed to keep my websites open, a couple of their recurring monthly memberships where I had, a few $100 a month expenses to do this. And so all I was trying to do was make enough money to pay those down, but keep my time freedom and also not lock myself into something that would take up my time and get me trapped in a opportunity cost of a lower income, kind of what we're talking about on the reverse side. And what had happened was my websites got onto page one. The way that this happened was I started linking private YouTube channels to my websites before anybody's doing this, and it hit the algorithm just right. And I ended up being page one, number one for We Buy Houses Dallas, Sell My House Dallas. And I built the number one lead generation websites for motivated sellers in Dallas, Texas, and most of the satellite cities in my market. And before I knew it, I went from $100,000 in debt to sometimes making $100,000 a week. And I started out doing what's called wholesaling properties. So I started as a wholesale real estate investor. Then I moved into flipping properties, and just like you see on HGTV, I was flipping anywhere from 8 to 12 houses at a time. And then I built my rental portfolio, went into the creative financing space, started creating notes, owner finance notes, selling notes, holding back partial notes. And then I went down the path of like mobile homes in parks and on land and land deals. And I did a lot in single family residential. And along the way, that's when I started my Investor Army YouTube channel. And it was kind of just an extension of what we were already doing. And that's when it kind of took off. I just started what we talked about at the beginning, just sharing things that I learned, problems that I had, and how I got around them, and just started giving value to everybody I could. And that's kind of how it took off.
Well, let me ask you a question on the flips, man. For what's the worst flip that you ever had, whether it's a loss or the lowest amount of money you made on it? You know what it is?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. So maybe.
But what's the worst that comes to mind?
I mean, there's all sorts of ways to look at worse. I've got properties right now. I got one where I still have a tenant, believe it or not, from the pandemic days years ago, that I'm having a weird issue that I can't get out. That's a different side, but that's been a horrible situation to go through. But one of the worst houses I ever did was I bought a frame house, which is kind of like a wood, like a frame siding and a vinyl siding house. And it had been at the bottom of a hill. And for like 60 years, water had been running under the house, and it was lifted up. It was a pier and beam house, and enough dirt had been washed under the house for years that it was the framing and everything was sitting on the bottom of the ground and rotting away. And we didn't know that. And when we found that out, we actually had to lift this entire house up. We had to suspend it in the air. We had to cut the bottom of the house off. We had to take out the old boat arc posts, the old boat arc piers that it was sitting on, pour new cement piers, set it down, partially set it down while we reframed half the house as we set it down, and then we kind of rebuilt the house on top of that. It was kind of crazy. But
how much did that cost? How much did that cost to do that part? Ballpark.
Probably not as much as you're thinking. That was a small 2-1 frame house, so it was like a 900 square foot house. I think it was like a $25,000 renovation on that house, but that was a big part of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've done big renovations. I mean, we made up to 6 figures on flips, and I've lost, I've never lost that much. The most I've ever lost in a house is probably like $20,000. But it's not just that you're losing $20,000; you're losing the
time.
Time. Yeah. So if you see your income's $100 per hour and you put 50 hours into it, you lost that, and then you lost your emotions. So you have an occupation of thoughts that when you're thinking of problems in the business or problems in life, that those thoughts are going to negative returns instead of positive returns. And so if you're dwelling on all the problems that you have right now, I call it a thought occupation expense, meaning you only have a finite amount of thoughts each day that you can think. And the more that go towards income producing activities or positive benefits for your business, the faster you're going to get your goals. And the more that you're distracted with that mindset where it's being occupied by negatives, problems that you can't get done, this is actually an expense in your business. So it's not just we have time, or not just that we have money. We need to look at business decisions off of time, money, and emotion, because all three play hand in hand together. And I actually created what's called a decision triangle, where I coach people on sales on how to understand when someone's locked on one part of the decision triangle, you move to the other parts of it. So let's say that they're...
Well, so what's that triangle? What's that triangle? So what's it? It's 3 points.
Yeah. So at the top, you're going to have time, and then on the left side, money, and on the other side, emotion. So for example, like I had a business that I was running. It was a profitable business that made probably multiple 6 figures, but I didn't like running the business. It was a miserable business to run, and it was burning me out. And so I decided to shut down a business where I was making good money over here, so I could take my time back to put it into another business to escape the emotional stress in the environment that I did not like living in. So sometimes it's not the money. Now, if I had only one income stream at the time, I would have dwelled in that pain and suffering a little bit, I guess, because I would have had to. But if you become as you become more successful, you have more options. And so you start to see people, as they become more successful in the beginning of their career, they make decisions off of money. So they're going to tolerate the time wastage and the stress. They may go paint their own house, but in the future, they make decisions off of time a lot more, where they're going to pay someone their money to buy back their time. This is why someone would not mow their front yard, have someone come cook for them at their house, or bring them Uber Eats. Someone that's thinking how to save money is going to go get the food themselves. Someone who's thinking how to save time is going to have that food brought to them. So it's just a difference in mentality, but this is why it's important. If you're in sales or you're selling any type of product, service, or opportunity, you need to understand this, that if you're talking to someone who's price sub $40 an hour, they're going to look at a lot of the decisions they're making based off of dollars. And then as you see people that are wealthier, more financially independent, they're going to make more decisions based off their emotional patterns and time management when it comes to their decisions.
Yeah, 100%. All right. So what's the vision for the future from here, man? Like, what are you going after?
Yeah. So right now we're focused on the team. And if you want me to tell how we got to the EXP stuff, I can. Yeah. So that's the main goal. The goal is to grow to 10,000 agents. Currently right now we're closing on 2,700. In the past 30 days, we've added almost 200 agents to our organization. And so the main goal would be to grow the EXP organization to 10,000 agents. But the way that kind of all played out and happened was I started that Investor Army channel. And because of the attention, what does this do? It creates opportunities. And a lot of people started reaching out to me about EXP really back in 2016, 17-ish. And probably just like a lot of you guys, if you're hearing this, I blew everybody off. I kind of had the mentality, it's going to be a good opportunity for them, but it's probably not an opportunity for me. I got lots going on and I was a busy person. So I kind of blew it off. And then this is a big lesson in life. If you hear that echo effect, meaning EXP, 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 Google, 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 Uber, 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 what that means is there's attention on this. So you need to put your attention on the attention. And I started hearing more about EXP. So I kind of started keeping an eye on it and watching it. And really at the time, I wasn't even a licensed real estate agent. And what happened was after 2 years of blowing EXP off, I went to speak at a big real estate conference in Jackson, Mississippi. It was an owner financing and creative financing event. The number one team leader at EXP was speaking at that same event. And so I was put into a speaker's house for 3 days, like a little Airbnb property. And that's when I was hanging out with Rob, and he showed me he was making over $100,000 a month in residual recurring income with no debt, no tenants, no toys, and none of the headaches I've been doing with the rental business. And it was kind of just like, it was just like that scene from Wolf of Wall Street where they're at the diner. He's like, you proved to me you're making 72K. I quit my job to work for you. I was like, Rob, you proved to me you're making 6 figures a month with no back-end management system, no debt, none of the headaches I'm dealing with right now. I'll go get my real estate license and I'll build this around the country with you. And he proved it to me. And that's essentially what happened is I got my license. I set a goal to hit 1,000 agents within the first 36 months. And it took us 40 months to get there. So it was a little bit off, but that's kind of how it all played out. And if I had not gone to that event, I would not have met Rob. And actually, when I came back to get my license, life kicked in. And for like 3 weeks, I got distracted and I almost forgot I was going to do it. And I almost changed my mind of what I was going to do, even though I was convicted in my belief system at the time. I was asked to speak at another event completely all the way across the country. And I think it was in Tucson, Arizona. And out of nowhere, there's 4 speakers at this event. And this is why God is good and why sometimes we have to listen, because there's 4 speakers at that event, me, and one of them was Rob Flick. So I never met Rob Flick. First time in my life was at this other event. And I speak at another event with him. I just remember being at that event, just like looking up, saying, I hear you. And I booked my real estate courses that day. I flew back, landed, and I was in school at the next morning at 8 a.m. basically. And I got my real estate license as fast as the state of Texas would legally let me do it. And I came in knowing what was possible and knowing that I could also do it, which is very important mindset to have. If you're going to start a business, you need to know what's the outcome, what's possible. Meaning, if you pull it off, what can you have, and make sure it's high enough. Because if you want to make $1 million a year, better pick something that allows you to make $1 million a year, not just a couple hundred. And then you have to fully understand that you're going to be able to pull it off and believe in yourself. So there's 2 things that are going to keep you from becoming successful. And that is a lack of belief in yourself, which is your self-esteem, which is the respect and relationship you carry with yourself. And then the lack of belief in the vehicle that you're driving to get to your goals. So you have to have a vehicle that will get you there, and you have to have undying belief, whether it's insurance, real estate, whatever it is. But it doesn't matter how much you believe in that vehicle. It could be a tested, proven vehicle. If you don't believe in yourself, when the thing that you're driving gets tough, you will sit down. So the most important thing is that we build our reputation with ourselves and strength with inside ourselves, so that when whatever we're doing, good or bad, it gets tough, that we push through it and gives us the ability to build the skill sets that will get us to where we're trying to get to over time. But if you can't push through that and you sit down, you'll never be consistent enough, and you're going to start and stop and start and stop, and you're going to end up quitting, and then you're going to go do something else that you're going to quit right before you quit the next thing you're about to quit, and continue on that quitting pattern. So whatever you guys want, just know that you can do it. You're special, way more than you think you are. And you need to understand that you have everything inside you right now to get there, as long as you don't quit. But you have to work hard, and you have to work hard every day. And just know that the cards are going to fall out the way they need to fall out to make the hand play out the way it needs to play out over time. So just stay in the game, stay focused, and you're going to get there.
Yeah, I love it, man. I just don't quit. Just keep going. And the vehicle thing, man, the vehicle thing is so powerful. Like, so many people are in the wrong vehicle. And when they're in the wrong vehicle, they're afraid a lot of times to let go of the nut. They're like you get so, like, I was in the mortgage space for the longest time, still have a business, but like at some point 3 years ago, I realized like this is not the vehicle to get to where I want to go. I'll use it and take advantage of every opportunity that I have with it, but I'm not gonna let that thing be my thing. So I did the same thing, man. I was like, I'm going to go into something else. I'm going to figure something else out. And then I started building a brand, the C-Rock brand. And then that changed, like you're talking about, the opportunities just start flowing in, and you got to be prepared to know your mission, your core values, and understand what aligns with you so that you can pick the opportunities wisely. So let me ask you, so at 2,700 agents, as you approach 2,700 agents, ballpark, like what's the reoccurring revenue on that?
Yeah, so this year should be a very, I don't know if we're going to hit multiple seven figures, but it'll be for sure a 7-figure net residual income this year. Working towards multiple 7 figures is where we're at. So it's hard to tell. The market's actually turning up right now. We had a pretty rough year last year, but the market's picking up. So it's going to be pretty substantial at the growth rate that we're having, especially as selling season kicks in. So
so that's what I was going to ask you. Like, how much did the economy affect the residual? Like, was it half?
It wasn't half.
Like when we had that rate increase in March last year, and then throughout last year.
Yeah, we probably lost about 30% of the income that I would have had if we had a consistent market that was in relationship to the ones we had the previous few years. So it did dip.
Yeah.
A lot of the dip it's when you really read between the lines, a lot of it's not because the market's that tough. It's because the mindset's been broken for so many people, and they watch TV and they get caught up in the fear and the negativity. And what do they do? They don't ramp up, they back down. And this is where energy levels drop. And so if you're going to grow a business, you can either increase the leads coming in, the business I'm in. So let's say we can attract more agents. You can either lose fewer agents. You can increase the skill sets of the agents that they're currently there, meaning now they can sell one house, they can sell 3 houses a year, or you can increase the work ethic or the hours worked by the agents. So let's say you had 100 agents that work an hour a week. That's 100 hours. Most people would try to double their business by doubling their agent count, meaning having 200 agents that work an hour a week. Now you have 200 hours. But if you're a great leader and motivator and someone that can inspire people and get the most out of them, you can double the hours in the business. So let's say you had 100 agents that work an hour a week. Now you motivate them. Now they work 2 hours a week. Isn't that the same thing as kind of doubling the output of the business? So,
and they're going to get better.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's absolutely right. And so, yeah, and then they just start making less mistakes over time. And so everything speeds up in business. It's always the sacrifices in the beginning. But yeah, I mean, yeah, sorry.
Well, that's fine. No. And for the audience watching that wants to get involved with you and wants to engage with you, what's the best way for them to engage with you?
Yeah, if you want to reach out to me, probably Instagram, you can DM me there. You can go follow my YouTube channels, Connor Steinbrook and Investor Army. So the Investor Army is the investment one, residential real estate. And then my new channel is going to be on overall entrepreneurship, mainly focused on building and scaling large businesses. And that's just my personal brand. But I'll probably be most likely to respond to you if you go to the Instagram account.
Awesome. Go check Connor Steinbrook out, guys. He's a friend of mine now, a new friend of mine. And we're going to be doing some things together because I can just see we vibe. There's no doubt about it. There's synergy. I got things like running through my head. And he's also, shout out to you for trusting us to work for you and get your message out at the People Building Podcast Agency, man. It means the world to me that you trust us to do that. And I'll do whatever I got to do to make sure that we serve you. And just want to thank you for that in public. So,
yeah, man, I'm grateful. You've been great. And just remember, we're gonna still be friends even after I show you my bass that I catch and how many.
that's all right, man. Hey, it's got to be a big one because mine are big, and so I'll be second to it. Somebody that has a bigger fish than me, no doubt about it. Hey, and so look, I want to thank all of the people watching, people that came in live and watched this and popped in and out. Thank you. Keep coming back to the What Are You Made Of show. If you're not on Fireside, get an account on Fireside. Sign up so you can come in the studio live, and then also go check us out on Clubhouse at the C-Rock Experience. We have a community that's off that app, off this show as well, that people, the inner circle, we're doing amazing things with people, building wealth, creating wow lives and wow businesses. I want to help you do that. So if you're not with Connor, get in with us, both of us, come with both of us. We'll both, if you can't help win and elevate hanging out with people like us. It's just impossible. So if that's what you want in your life, come hang out with us. And until next time, it's your boy C-Rock. Be unstoppable.
Woo!